So there's obviously something going on in the bigger picture. Whether
Definitely.
I've heard our technology right now is like 400 years ahead of everybody else. So when you look at like David Faber.
What do you mean everybody else? Like
the rest of the world.
Earth?
The rest of the world.
America's technology
is 400 years ahead of everybody else.
What technology?
Anti-gravity.
Okay.
I never even heard of anti-gravity until this year.
Until Bob Lazar.
Nope, Bob Lazar didn't bring it up.
No?
He talked about anti-gravity, but nobody ever said we have anti-gravity that's here and working and we're dealing with it now. That whole, with David Flavor, with that Tic Tac, they say that was ours. We're doing that.
Some people say that, yeah.
Well, the group that just came out said, that's ours. We're going to but again.
Which group?
Don't know. Through the U.S., out of the Pentagon. It was the Pentagon saying.
The Pentagon said that was ours?
That was ours. It's all, none of it's ET.
No. There was I think it was the New York Times article just came out 2 weeks ago. It said that the headline of the New York Times article was, there's no evidence that this is alien.
Correct.
But it also didn't say, it said they don't know what it is.
They came out and said it was ours. Well, is it really ours? Who's it really saying that? But at the end of the day, they're definitely saying it wasn't an extraterrestrial vehicle.
But they also said, the New York Times article also said they didn't know what it was.
Right. But now all of a sudden, there's more photos of it coming up. Some other girls now have actually videotaped it they were sitting on the ground videotaping it. So this is a new vehicle.
Videotaping the Tic Tac?
Yeah.
Where?
Flying between some mountains. And she's like, what is that? I don't know what it is. But you look at it and you go, that's the same thing.
Where did you see this?
I was on TV about 2 weeks ago. David Faber, and you say now that looks at the same thing that Faber saw that day that he was flying the plane. And it's just going, flying right through the mountains and just buzzing along.
Is there a video of this?
Oh, yeah. The girl that took it, she didn't know what it was. Now, nobody said in the show that it was the Tic Tac, but when you look at it, you're like, dude, that's round, it's long, it looks just like what he was talking about. There's no flying, no wings. And like I said, there's just so much information coming out that it's hard to stay, up on it and stay, where you need to be. Is that real? Or
seems like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely a full-time job. Well, because listen, too, there's a lot of fake stuff going on. I mean, they were talking about now about drones and numbers that are going up in the air. They just recorded 14 UFOs around a Navy ship about a month ago. The Navy still doesn't know what they were, but they were all over the ship.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I saw that.
So,
it was on the radar or on the.
Again, was that us? Was it not us? Are they trying to do that to see what how these guys are going to respond to it from a military perspective? I don't know.
My favorite out of all of the recorded encounters, I mean, like the abduction stories are crazy with Betty.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Betty and
I want to
Barney.
get abducted.
Yep.
You just see what it's like.
I want it.
Betty, have you heard the Betty and
Want the
Barney
probe?
White story or the Betty and Barney Hill?
Fuck
And then who was the other guy? Who's the dude who we were talking about the other day?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys.
The guy who was in Arizona who got abducted. We were talking about it on the last podcast. Anyways, but out of all of them, my favorite one is the Zimbabwe story because there's like 25 people who all had the same exact story.
Oh, dude, there's more than 25. Actually, it's like half the school saw it.
Yeah, so in the 90s, like 1993 or something, a spaceship landed in a field outside of a school in Zimbabwe.
Allegedly.
And all 20 of the kids saw
So we don't
it.
get shadow
They
banned.
just like walk out and just like it's just there.
Allegedly,
Parked
thanks, so
like
we
a
don't get
car.
shadow banned.
No,
Yeah.
here's what they did. They actually went back to the school and they brought back all the kids there.
The
And they
story is fucking bonkers because they got a psychiatrist came and interviewed all the kids, and they were all like between the ages of like 5 and 10 or something. And
had them draw pictures.
And a psychiatrist had them all draw pictures and talk about
Individually?
the experience. Individually, right, separate from each other. And all the kids had the same exact fucking story. How these little creatures, childlike figures, came out of this saucer, and stood there, and they were like within 10 feet of them, and they all, or a couple of them that were closest to the aliens, they said that they had these like visions in their head of like technology is bad, technology is going to be like the downfall of the human race. And there was no like verbal talk, but they all like had these thoughts of like how technology is bad. And they thought like now they're discovering it. There's this documentary just put out where they interviewed them now, and they're all like in their 30s, 40s. And they're all like, recalling what happened back then. And
Well, the story hasn't changed after all this time.
the story hasn't changed at all, yeah, because they interviewed all the kids back in the 90s, and they just interviewed them again just now. and they all like have been thinking about it ever since, and they believe that it was just, you know, the aliens telepathically communicating with the kids, thinking that they could get the message across to humanity that whatever.
Well, those aliens need to practice what they preach if they're using crazy technology.
That's
to
what
come
I
here.
thought.
Bunch of hypocrites.
They are a bunch
But
of
maybe
hypocrites.
ours is going to
need to get
destroy
the
us
fuck outta
like
here.
Terminator.
Whatever, everything's gonna kill you.
How
no
are you
matter
gonna
what.
How are you
Yeah.
gonna come down in some crazy
That's a fact.
anti-gravity in some crazy anti-gravity spaceship and try
Travel
to-
thousands of light years
Yeah.
and say like, you know what? Technology sucks. Don't use it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing.
I'm
One
gonna
of
go
the guys.
fly away now.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, one of the guys I was talking to, and we were talking about this whole thing because I don't think they're flying millions of miles. I think they're here, but I also think that with these portals. And he said, you know, if you think about, he goes, just think if you were a fish, you were in the water, you were looking up, and I took my boat and set my boat in the water. Now you can see the bottom of my boat from the fish's perspective. Oh yeah, look at that. He goes, if I pick that boat up, in your mind's eye, that boat just disappeared. So now I bring
Yeah.
that boat over here and I set it down over here. You're like, check that out. How did it get over there now? So he goes, so what's ever on the other side of reality is that. And he goes, so these things are moving around and sort of that same ideology.
Right.
He goes, but they're here. They've been here all along. They're not traveling millions of miles. They
There's more
live-
dimensions they can travel in.
Different forms of matter that we probably can't even see.
Right.
Like water, air,
Sure.
time, gravity.
Well, they just showed that one of the interesting things was this pilot in Alaska. He said he's been there for 40 years. He goes, I've never seen anything like this. They had a volcano erupt. And he goes, so I'm flying some customers out to a place where they're going to be hunting. And he goes, I look over the volcano, and he goes, we're gutting a big path because it had been puffing out some smoke. And he goes, but something in a cloud that was trying to hide in the cloud, but was doing a terrible job at it. You could see it.
like a fat guy trying to hide behind a tree.
That's exactly it. So he started taking pictures of it until it went into the volcano.
Damn.
And then later, he said about 5 minutes after that happened, this big green orb came out of it. He took pictures of this green orb. He goes, listen, I'm not saying they're UFOs. I don't know what they are. But whatever was going on was going on. It was definitely a for sure. So I think the orbs, just like we saw, because they're seeing more identical to what we saw that day on other TV shows now with drones. So whatever the drone is able to do, whether the drone is making a noise it likes to hear, because all these things, that one that you took the video of changed directions and came up towards that. Remember, you thought, hey, someone's shooting at my drone.
Yeah.
And even when I was watching this, somebody said that. I laughed. Because the first one came by it close, and the second one, came by it real close.
Right.
And I just refer to them as dirty cotton balls. But I think those, whatever they are, that's part of the earth, man. The earth is a living entity, and they are here protecting the earth, whatever they are. Because they seem to be always. I'm trying to get this from Tyler. I took a video about 4 years ago of this thing. It was night. It was in the wintertime, very cool out. The sky was crystal clear. And there was this ball of light, and it was literally looked like if you had a laser and you were just kind of waving it around. And I'm like, what the hell is that? So the one thing that I noticed, if I took my camera out and I tried to follow it, what I noticed was if I took that camera and held it like on a planet and I moved it, it looked like the light was moving, and I was actually moving the camera. So
Right.
that's not going to work. So I had to position the camera to get this thing to fly through it so that you could actually see it.
Right.
And I managed to do that. So whatever this thing is, and it was funny, I had the feeling like it's having a good time. It's fun. It's like it's playing in the wind, whatever this thing was. But that's what I feel these things are. Now, the extraterrestrials that are coming here, if you go back and start looking at the Anunnaki, and you start really looking at the Anunnaki hard, they talk about they took us as humans because the Anunnaki and the Sumerians didn't want to be mining all this gold. They ate gold back then because they said, listen, our bodies are electric. And by eating gold, man, it just absolutely makes your body the most perfect, the way the system operates, just absolutely perfect.
That's what I tell myself when I drink a bottle of
Gold
Goldschlager.
Well, there you go. So it's that gold slogger doing it, baby. So he said,
That's expensive.
So when they would do that, he said, so they decided they didn't want to dig for this gold anymore, so they started breeding with us. And he goes, what they did was they changed the DNA and they made it so that we thought about nothing but gold. Well, we really haven't changed a whole lot. We still think about gold today. So
More so about Bitcoin.
definitely about Bitcoin. Where's that going right now anyway?
Nowhere.
Down and up,
It's
down
going-
up,
it's
down
going
up.
nowhere
Not to the
fast.
moon.